Between aging and busy lifestyles, many women struggle with maintaining their physical and mental wellness. At Aquavita Concierge Healthcare Services for Women, we can help you revitalize your health and reclaim your life. We start from within by balancing your hormones, allowing your body to achieve and maintain desired weight goals. We also specialize in peptide therapies, regenerative medicine, sexual health, and aesthetics in our state-of-the-art facilities. Feel better, look better, live better at Aquavita. Visit aquavitality.com and begin your journey today.
No breaks. No breaks. No fear. No fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome along. I'm Ian Brannan, back with another packed episode of No Breaks, No Fear. Coming up, we look back on all of the Premiership action from Monday night as Wolves go back top.
We had just about too much strength for him in the end, but it was touch and go, with such a strong reserve as Hans Anderson.
We'll also hear from Sheffield Simon Stead, Alex Brady of Kings Lynn, Danny King of Ipswich and Dan Bewley of the Belle Vue Aces, amongst others. We're also going to be looking ahead to the action coming up in the Championship as well. There's lots to look forward to, and it's a busy week for Poole Pirates. We'll hear from Stefan, Nielsen and Danyon, Hume.
It's a good group of lads, and it's grabbing the experience they've got with both hands and pushing on with my career myself.
We'll also take a look at the National Development League. We'll hear from Mildenhall's Elliot Kelly and Jason Edwards. All to come on No Breaks, No Fear.
No breaks, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
And joining me to look back at the action recently and look ahead to what's coming up, including, of course, the big British final, which is just less than 2 weeks away now, is Dave Rowe, who, as you'll well know, is, I think, fast becoming the poster boy of Speedway, I think, certainly in some people's bedrooms, perhaps. But Dave Rowe is with us. You'll know him from Eurosport, from the Speedway Star, and so far has attended over 30 Speedway meetings this season, and certainly I think there must be some award for that. Welcome along, Dave.
Thanks, Ian. I think housewife's choice is the phrase of choice.
That's the one.
Poster boy.
Yeah, housewife's choice. That's right. Yeah, and you have been asked for autographs. This is what stardom does for you. It's your year is taking a different turn.
It was actually quite amusing at the TV meeting at Sheffield a couple of weeks ago. Our interview point was outside the pits, which was good because Sheffield has a very tight pits complex area. And yes, a couple of supporters wanted a photo, and then also, even more excitingly, Chase the Ace at Belle Vue the following night, the mascot, also wanted a photo. So yeah, fame and fortune or something.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, if Chase the Ace wants your autograph and photo, then that's a good position to be in.
Yes, it's even made my Twitter profile picture.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to look at the meetings from Monday night in a bit, but first of all, the draw has just been released for the 2021 Sports Insure British Final, which is taking place on the 16th of August at the National Speedway Stadium. You were presiding over the draw, a bit like Bert Millichip used to do with the FA Cup draw back in the day, and it was Adrian Smith and Mark Lemon who were actually drawing the balls out of the hat. Tell us about that then, because sometimes in the past these things have been done and there's the draw, but it's great to actually see the process ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah, well, first of all, the draw process itself, we genuinely felt that, and this was something that was done last year as well with Nigel and Kelvin via Talking Dirt, better for the profile of the sport, for the build-up to the meeting, rather than just bash out an email with 16 riders in 16 slots. Let's make something of it, and let's make it a little mini TV segment, if you like. So that's why it was filmed in the way it was, in kind of true draw fashion. Yes, you're right. I remember the days of Graham Kelly doing the FA Cup draw on a Sunday afternoon or a Monday lunchtime on the BBC. And I remember one occasion when the two who were drawing drew out number 1 and number 2 first. Then the next one said, it's number 3. Oh no, it's not. It's number 64. And Graham Kelly was, don't do that. So I was just really hoping that Mark and Adrian wouldn't drop the balls or something. But no, it all went well. And I think, as I say, it's good for the profile of the sport just to do something extra. I mean, the riders, I'm sure, will look at their numbers. They'll look at their starting positions, whether it makes any great difference. Who knows, on a track as fair as Belle Vue, I'm sure they'll all 16 feel they've got a chance. And yeah, interesting meeting ahead, 16th of August. And I'm sure that the homeboys will be confident. Certainly Dan Bewley after a maximum last night will be. There's plenty of people in form. It's going to be a good night.
OK, well, let's listen to that draw right now, led by Dave Rowe. And you'll also hear the voices of Mark Lemon and Adrian Smith as well. Here it is.
So here we go with the draw. The first rider is Ben Barker, who finished third in both 2010 and 2014. And Mark will give us his riding number.
Rider number 4.
Ben Barker is rider number 4. Moving on to Belle Vue man Dan Bewley, yet to become British champion. Second place to Robert Lambert in 2018. Adrian, a number for Dan Bewley.
Number 9.
Dan Bewley goes at number 9. Former champion, of course, we have 6 former champions in the field, and Craig Cook of Ipswich and Glasgow this year, but won the title in 2017. On the rostrum in his last 6 British finals. Craig Cook, Mark.
Rider number 5.
Craig Cook rides at number 5. A man in terrific form so far this season, both with Sheffield and with Scunthorpe, is Adam Ellis. Adrian.
Number 12.
Number 12 for Adam Ellis. His last appearance in the British final was back in 2018. Could be a favourite this year. Chris Harris, the 3-time British champion, last made the rostrum in 2013. Mark, for Chris Harris.
Rider number 8.
The Peterborough and Birmingham man, Chris Harris, goes at number 8. Moving on to the captain of Sheffield and Leicester, Kyle Howarth. Adrian.
Rider number 6.
Kyle Howarth, whose last appearance was in 2018 when he made the semi-final, he goes at number 6. Edward Kennett back in form recently, a maximum for Eastbourne last weekend. Second place in 2008 and 2009. Mark, for Edward Kennett.
Be rider number 3.
Edward Kennett will be rider number 3. On to a man who made the semi-final in 2019. That's Louis Kerr of Kings Lynn and Eastbourne. Adrian?
Rider 11.
Louis Kerr is rider number 11. 2016 champion in the wet here at Belle Vue and runner-up in 2019 is Danny King. Mark?
Rider number 7.
Former champion Danny King goes at number 7. And the man who was runner-up here last year, Richard Lawson of Kings Lynn and Eastbourne. Adrian?
16.
Richard Lawson goes at number 16 in good form this season. The 7-time British champion, Scott Nicholls. Last time he won it was 2012. Is there an 8th title in Scott this season, Mark?
Rider number 1.
Scott Nicholls, rider number 1. And from the 7-time champion to a young man making his debut in the British final, that's Anders Rowe of Ipswich and Redcar. Adrian?
Number 14.
Anders Rowe, number 14, of course, just back in action after injury. The defending champion won it last year on the live stream, Rory Schlein of Wolverhampton and Poole. Mark?
Rider number 2.
Rory Schlein is number 2 for this year's British final. We finish off with 3 more Belle Vue riders. So, Adrian, we start with Richie Worrell, who, of course, crashed in the semi-final on the last bend last year to cost him a place in the final. So, a number for Richie Worrell.
Number 10.
Richie Worrell goes at number 10, and his twin brother, who came close in 2017, finishing second, the Belle Vue captain Steve Worrell. Mark?
Number 15.
Steve Worrell goes at number 15, and we complete the field with another home rider who was champion here in 2019. What a night that was. Can there be a repeat for Charles Wright? Adrian?
Number 13.
Charles Wright goes at number 13. So that completes the draw. Let's take a look at some of the key races ahead. So, Heat 1 will feature the defending champion Rory Schlein and the 7-time champion Scott Nicholls. And then there are 3 former champions meeting in Heat 2, Craig Cook, Danny King and Chris Harris, with Kyle Howarth also thrown in. Many people make Dan Bewley this year's favourite, with high expectations for Adam Ellis. They meet in Heat 3, and the 2019 winner Charles Wright starts on the outside of Heat 4. That race also features his Belle Vue teammate Steve Worrell. Some big clashes to pick out from later in the meeting. Heat 5 looks a tasty one with Wright, Nichols, Cook and Bewley. And Heat 10 also a really strong quartet there. Elliot on the inside going up against Cook, Steve Worrell and Schlein. If they need points towards the end, how about Heat 17? Nichols against Harris with the Worrell boys also in that race. And Heat 18 could also be a highlight. Last year's runner-up Richard Lawson, current champion Schlein and former winner King and Bewley on the inside. So here's the full 1 to 16 in draw order. Scott Nichols at number 1, 2 is Rory Schlein, number 3 Edward Kennett, 4 is Ben Barker, number 5 Craig Cook, 6 is Carl Howarth, number 7 Danny King, 8 Chris Harris, 9 Dan Bewley, 10 Richie Worrell, Louis Kerr goes at 11, Adam Ellis at 12, number 13 Charles Wright, number 14 Anders Rowe, 15 is Steve Worrell and number 16 is Richard Lawson.
So that's the draw order and the full lineup for the 2021 Sports Insure British Final, which takes place on the 16th of August. If you'd like to be there in person, then you can get your tickets at the Belle Vue website. Buy them and get them sooner than later, because it is going to be a very, very busy meeting. That if you can't make it in person, though, it will be on Eurosport Monday the 16th of August for the British Final. Well, let's stay with the National Speedway Stadium then, because Belle Vue were in action in the Premiership last night, taking on the Ipswich Witches. It finished Belle Vue 55, Ipswich 35. So obviously a disappointing evening for the Witches, who I think were hoping for a bit of a stronger performance. Top scoring for the Witches was Danny King. We'll hear from him shortly. First of all, let's hear from Dan Bewley, who went through the card, a 15-point maximum. He's been speaking with Phil Lanning, and Phil, in this chat, brings up that subject of the British final, and it seems that Dan Bewley might be hitting form just at the right time.
Number 1, 15-point maximum. Is that the way you want to carry on? Is that an obvious question?
Yeah, as I said at the start of the season, that was the big goal, get to number 1, and tonight was a good step to try and stay there, so happy with how tonight went.
Quite a big contrast to the last meeting here. Is there any reason for that? Why fluctuating in for the team and yourself?
Yeah, the last meeting I had some little bike troubles, and I said I would fix it, and I did, so it was good the next few meetings, and then we were on some little bit different equipment tonight, and it went good again, so I had one bad meeting and fixed it, and now we're back on good again, so it's all good.
You've got a meeting here next week against Peterborough, and then you've got the British final. Is there an obvious thing that there's an advantage for you here, or do you think it's such a fair track that you don't have much of an advantage?
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge advantage. It's always a little bit different here every week, just with the weather. Not even with how the track's prepared. Just can vary so much. So it's not a very big advantage, and it's a real easy track to get round. So everyone's good here. So it's just fair racing. So I think whoever wins, it's the best rider on the night. So
I should say as well, that machinery change. Have you learnt a lot from that tonight, that you might use that setup and machinery for the British final?
Yeah, probably. So
it's quite a good precedent to set.
Yeah.
You had a lot of rivals against you tonight who will be in the meeting as well, ironically. So it's a good yardstick.
Yeah, we got 15 tonight, so it looks good towards the British final. But Cookie didn't have his best tonight, and I expect him to be a lot better come the British final, and Danny King too. So a lot of it can depend on the weather and how certain riders could go, but. I think, whatever the track looks like, I think I've got a good chance, and I'm ready for whatever. So, I'm looking forward to that, but more than anything, just get these next few league meetings out of the way.
And just finally, you're also going well in the extra league as well. Are you coping with the travelling and the amount of meetings okay? Is it something you've sort of slotted into now?
Yeah, to be honest, it's quite easy once you've got everything organised. With Tap Trip and Ian Brannan and all that helped me out there. Once you've actually figured out what fights you're going to get, it's really easy travel. So, I'm not super busy at the minute. It's just 2 or 3 meetings a week. It could be a lot busier. So, it's been easy, and I'm liking it. Can still do some training, still do some other things outside of Speedway that I think helps me during doing Speedway too. So, it's all been good.
Dan Bewley there then, Dave, going through with a 15-point maximum, untouchable all night. And as he mentioned in that interview with Phil Lanning, and I know quite a few supporters have been mentioning this as well online, that he was using a new bit of gear last night, a new engine, one of Ty Woofenden's engines, and certainly seemed to be delivering the business, and pretty much confirming in that chat with Phil that the bike he was riding last night will be the bike he's using in the British final, which certainly is not going to do any harm to his favourite label for the championship.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised he's made changes, because I was at Belle Vue for their last home Premiership meeting against Wolverhampton when they were beaten, and they were beaten up towards the closing stages, and Dan Bewley himself was as well. So I'm not surprised he's looked to do something different, and what he's done last night has clearly worked well. I think he will start as favourite for the British final. I don't see why he wouldn't. He's not won it before, but he's certainly the man in form, both with that 15-point max last night and with what he's doing in Poland as well. And it makes sense that he's changed his setup slightly for the National Speedway Stadium. Clearly got something that worked last night, and if you've got something that works, why change?
Well, there were a few riders in the field on Monday at the National Speedway Stadium who will be lining up in the British final. One of those was the top scorer for the Ipswich Witches on the night with 14+1. Danny King has been speaking with Phil Lanning.
Danny King, tough night at Belle Vue, and you had it halfway there, and they absolutely dominated the second half. Was there a particular reason for that?
No, not really. I don't honestly know, Phil. I had 7 rides tonight. I don't feel like I've watched any racing, so I couldn't even tell you the score. But I know we lost quite heavily in the end. It's a bit of a shame because, as you say, we were thereabouts most of the way through. But I'd have to go back and have a proper look at it. But I don't know. We were struggling for setup tonight. Everyone was. I could hear everyone talking amongst themselves and just trying to get something working.
Is it tough without Jason? It puts extra emphasis on everybody, does it? To up their game.
It does. You know, you need someone like Jason just in the pits, you know, let alone on track. So it's been tough, but it seems to be the story of our season so far. And you know, fingers crossed he is on the mend and we can have him back soon. Because as I say, we could do with Jason about again.
Do you manage to gather any information tonight for what's here in 2 weeks' time?
I did. I didn't have time to do what I wanted to do tonight on the bike, but we were working. You know, I think I was late out for every ride in the second half of the meeting because we're trying to get the bike back together. But I'm happy going into the British final.
Okay, and as far as Ipswich are concerned, you've again, it's been tough without Jason. But do you feel like you're sort of making progress at all? Do you feel like you need a full team back all the time?
We need a full team back. We've not covered very well without Jason, and that's obviously no secret. So you know, I feel with a full 1 to 7 and someone like Jason in the team, you know, we're there or thereabouts. I think the team's good.
There's Danny King speaking with Phil Lanning, and they're revealing obviously a disappointing night for Ipswich, but for Danny King, some valuable laps around the National Speedway Stadium with one eye on the British final in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and of course he likes the track. I've seen him ride there very well in the past. I mentioned he won it in the wet in 16, but also he almost won it in 19 when he was the best rider in the 20 races, but then Charles Wright rode superbly in the final to nick the title. So Danny's always going to be there or thereabouts at Belle Vue in an individual event. Tough night for Ipswich overall. That's the second time this season they've gone down there 55-35, same score both times. Matches running out for them. They've raced 15 out of 20, and with Sheffield winning last night, we'll come on to that shortly, there's no room for error now for Ipswich at all. They've probably got to win, I would think, all 5 of their remaining matches if they're going to make the playoffs. I believe Jason Crump is back this week for them. It's not worked out for them using Guest and RR. So if they can get their full 1 to 7, that might just be in time, and they've got to hit form straight away. Yeah,
it's starting to come up on the rails quick, isn't it, at this point of the season where, you know, the wins need to come now. And let's go to the Adrian Flux Arena, a fixture that you were at last night, Dave. Kings Lynn obviously under a bit of pressure, as they have been pretty much since the start of the season, really, with lots of changes, now a team manager change, and Sheffield also making changes, but certainly seems to have worked with the additions they've made to the team. Sheffield winning their first away fixture of the season. It finished Kings Lynn 41, Sheffield 49, and a big 4 points on the road for Sheffield, who still have 4 matches in hand as well, don't they?
They do, and the team last night looked good. I think it was a better balanced Sheffield team than we've seen so far. We saw them on TV lose at home to Peterborough, and I think many people would say that result had been coming. Yes, we know Chris Harris had the big impact in that meeting at reserve, but a Sheffield home defeat, the team just looked somewhat imbalanced. It was better balance last night with Jack Holder, although he's not fully fit, riding at number 1. They won comfortably, even with Adam Ellis crashing out, knee injury. Hopefully he won't be out for too long with that British final in mind. But what I saw last night was, I think, the most exciting individual display I've seen this season, and that was from Josh Pickering, that they've just brought in. I know he's been fantastic for Edinburgh this season. He had got so much speed, so much determination to reel people in last night. Some of the moves he made were spectacular. And in the end, they went into Heat 15 looking to take all 4 league points. They were putting in their second strings, effectively. Pickering and Carl Howarth were both ridden well, and Pickering actually passed Thomas Jorgensen to get that 4th league point for them. So he was fantastic. That's a recent signing. Stefan Nielsen made his debut, came in and looked good. It's giving them more at reserve. I also thought Danyon Hume was very much on the pace too. He'll ride again for them on Thursday, and that could be the answer in their number 7 role. So all of a sudden, Sheffield, whilst there are still a couple of issues there, you look at that top 5, it is strong. Although their points total is nowhere near the current top 3, as long as they can fend off Ipswich, then there's no reason why come late August, early September, they might not be where we thought they'd be back in May.
Well, let's hear from the star man that you picked out last night, Josh Pickering. He's speaking with Ryan Guest.
Thanks to yourself with that tremendous ride in Heat 15, all 4 league points as well.
Yeah, that's what we come here to do. Kyle said at the start of the meeting when we were doing the coin toss, we're here for 4 points, and best thing was we made the most of that. It was definitely an experience. I've never even seen the place here, so Heat 1 was a little bit tricky, and I feel like I sort of, every time I got on the track, I felt to ride the place a little bit better. Everything was great. My mechanics done an unbelievable job, Ryan and Cooper, and can't ask for a better start to a very busy week.
Yeah, you say you've never seen this place before. Certainly watching you want to know it, because you really did show some unbelievable speed out there tonight.
Yeah, I was happy with how things were going, mate. Everything was just working good. Nights like this, it's the best for the whole team. Mechanics, I'm not saying they didn't do anything, but that's just typical everything after every race. No changes, no mucking around. We just had a job to do, and we done it. So I'm quite happy.
I know it's still early days in your Premiership career. Obviously had a really solid debut at Alderton. The fixture against Peterborough was a bit tougher, but it's nights like tonight which make you believe that you're where you belong in this Premiership.
Yeah, I think a few things got to me that Peterborough match. As much as you try and feel ready to go and stuff, there's just certain things that don't click at certain times, and not that I felt like I was going to start bad, but I was quite disappointed on that drive home, and I had 4.5 hours to really think about what happened, and I was glad I could turn it around on the Friday night at Edinburgh. I think I only dropped 1 point or something like that, so things are going back good again, and doing what we got to do. So we're just gonna, we know what's capable of every rider in this league. I've raced and I've beat them before, so they're all beatable again now. So we've got to head over to, we've got Plymouth tomorrow, staying at Coles tonight, and prepping the bikes for tomorrow, and then we're away to Poole, and we're away to Ipswich, and we're away back up to Edinburgh, and then I'm back down the road to Leicester on Saturday, and then I've got a couple of days to myself, and then we go Tuesday Kent, Wednesday Birmingham, Thursday here again, I think. Thursday here, and then Friday out at Edinburgh again. So it's going to be quite busy, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, like you say, a really hectic schedule. Just wrapping up though with the Sheffield tonight. Back on level points with Ipswich now, and those playoff positions really are in sight all of a sudden.
Yep, no, it's good. I don't really understand. Not that I don't understand it, but I don't look into all the league format and what we need to do, and I just know that I need to win every race, and so I'm just going to continue to do that, and hopefully our team can perform what we did tonight.
You certainly did that very well tonight. Well done, Josh.
Thanks very much.
Well, let's hear from Simon Stead now, because the last few weeks we've spoken to him, and he's been scratching his head a little bit, really, I think, with what he can do to sort out the fortunes of Sheffield. He's made a couple of team changes, and things certainly are a different story this week. Let's hear from Simon Stead with Ryan Guest.
Finally, the much-needed away win that you've been longing for.
Yeah, and not just a win, but I think we were pretty convincing. When you look down the 1 to 7 tonight, we had everybody doing their job, and it was a really, really good, solid display. One that I've always felt been in there. We've just not, for one reason or another, been able to show our true form up until now. But I've always felt like this was something we were capable of. Perhaps a little bit of bit more firepower at reserves really helped. But really happy with a really solid team display.
Yeah, just not just another league win as well, but also getting that 4th point that was up for grabs as well, and a terrific ride from Josh Pickering in E15 to do so.
Yeah, that's really what we came here looking at, not just a win, but if we were going to start and progress our season, we needed to look at taking 4 points. It's a great start to the week. Obviously, we've got Ipswich on Thursday, so start of a difficult week, but 4 points on the board is a really good start.
Yeah, you mentioned the extra scoring power down at reserve as well. Obviously, you brought Stefan Nielsen in to do a job, and Danyon Hume in his first guest appearance of the week as well. Probably the first time this season as well where you have outscored the opposition counterparts.
Yeah, that's right, and it's one of those things that we felt we needed to strengthen. There was an opportunity to make a change that we felt would give us more scoring power at a difficult position that we found difficult to find cover for, especially losing Josh so early. So it's been sort of a bit of a bugbear and something that we've not really been able to cover very well, but Stefan's just given us that strength, and special mention to Danyon as well, because he's chipped in with some vital points.
Yeah, great to see Jack Holder back from injury obviously, but one or two concerns over a couple of the other boys tonight.
Well, we're the walking wounded tonight really. It's Jack's still not anywhere near fit. So he's struggled through tonight, but done the job that we know he's capable of. Adam's obviously taken a knock. Bash is in the medical room at the moment. So we're the walking wounded. So the fact that we managed to get the job done under the circumstances was testament to the rest of them, because they were really inspiring.
Nevertheless, and just finally, a big meeting now on Thursday. You have gone joint on points with Ipswich in the standings, and that just makes Thursday's meeting even bigger at Foxhall.
Well, it's I think every when I look at the fixture list, every single fixture is sort of mouth-watering, isn't it? You're looking at every fixture thinking, they could do it. They could win there. They could win there. It's been topsy-turvy. The fact that we've performed better at Kings Lynn than we did at our own place is bemusing, really. But I think that'll change. I think home form will come. I think we're better positioned with the team set up as we are now to kick on and have better results everywhere.
Well done on the first away win of the season tonight, Steady.
Thanks very much.
Sheffield's position in the league, as we mentioned there, really is slightly false, potentially, because they've got so many matches in hand on the teams around them. Obviously, they need to win those in order for that to be the case. What of Kings Lynn, though? Because they've ridden more meetings, they made lots of changes, and they just can't seem to string any results together, can they?
Yeah, it feels like Kings Lynn have been chasing their tail really ever since the opening night, when they started off really badly against Ipswich, then had that shocker against Wolverhampton. They have made several changes. I wouldn't rule out more to come there, if I'm honest, as they go forward. But their eyes are going to be on 2022. The big success, quite clearly, has been bringing in Richard Lawson, who I think they all accept should have been there from the word go anyway. And there'd be no surprise to see him there in the future. As I say, it wouldn't surprise me if they try something else, because that's really all they can do. They're not going to make the playoffs, so it's a case of trying to push forward and see what's there for the future. Funnily enough, their away form isn't that bad. They won at Ipswich, they came close at Ipswich, they came close at Sheffield. It's only at Peterborough where they got thoroughly demolished, where they're going to go again on Thursday. But it's at home, and I think some of the riders that have come in haven't got to grips with the track there at the Adrian Fox Arena, which is very grippy. It's maybe some of the people that have come in aren't really riders you'd associate with Kings Lynn. I think that's the way I'd look at it. Away, they've not been too bad, but if you look at the home record, 1 win, which was spectacular against Belle Vue, 1 win, 6 defeats. That would suggest that the personnel for whatever reason, hasn't quite clicked.
Let's hear from the team manager at Kings Lynn then. Here's Alex Brady with Ryan Guest.
After being on such a high against Belle Vue and then a spirited performance at Ipswich, got to be disappointed with the performance and result against Sheffield.
Yeah, it's tough to take the result. I mean, the performance from a lot of the boys was very, very good. But just unfortunately, we couldn't quite get out the starts in the crucial heats and couldn't quite make them count. But yeah, I mean, it is a tough one to take. Yeah.
Sheffield, obviously you've got to look at them as well. They've been able to reshuffle their order ahead of this one, brought in some new reserves as well. Just bad timing on that from Kings Lynn, I guess.
Yeah, typical timing for us, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, you have to ride what's in front of you, and you just, as I said earlier on, we couldn't get out the gates in a lot of the heats, and as you can see, like half the meetings tonight were won from the gate. So yeah, it's something we're going to have to work on for sure.
Yeah, managed to get some early heat winners in. Just couldn't find those minor places which are always so crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. We had some good heat winners. I think 4 of the first 5 are from Kings Lynn, but you know we couldn't pack the minor places. And as you say, crucial every meeting to win, and just wasn't our night tonight.
Yeah, a couple of the boys, when you look maybe at Cameron Heaps in particular and Ricky Wells, did really struggle for points tonight.
Yeah, Cam's going to strip the bike back, find out what's going wrong. He just couldn't get out the starts. He had some good speed once he got out the starts, but he just couldn't get out there. And Ricky, he found the track tough going tonight, but popped out heat 2, looked good, and yeah, I'm sure it'll be a different rider at Peterborough on Thursday.
Yeah, Peterborough on Thursday, as you've mentioned, always an interesting clash between the two clubs, as we saw earlier in the season at the East of England Arena. And I guess with everyone expecting to Peterborough to walk over Kings Lynn, that takes a bit of the pressure off you boys.
Yeah, I mean, we perform at our best when people don't expect a lot from us, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. You know, obviously a brilliant side, and obviously, well, with Ulrich injured, but even with the 6 they've got, I mean, they're still a fantastic side. So we'll go there, we'll look to try and get something out of the meeting, and yeah, who knows what might happen.
And thanks for speaking to us, Alex.
Thanks, Ryan. Cheers, mate.
Some late breaking news at the time of recording this, that Kings Lynn have made a double team change ahead of Thursday's Premiership trip to Peterborough. The Miners and Brady Stars have brought in British finalist Ben Barker and club asset Casper Anderson as they reshuffle their lower order following the home defeat against Sheffield on Monday. Keith Chapman, Dale Allen and Alex Brady held discussions late into the night after the meeting on Monday and took the decision to release Cameron Heaps and Ricky Wells from the team. Both riders have struggled for points around the Adrian Flux Arena, and the club have also been mindful of the fact that transfer deadline is fast approaching later this month. Moving at this time means that Heaps and Wells will be available to other Premiership sides in a reasonable time frame should they be of interest to anyone else. Stars Chiefs have made no secret of the fact that they've got an eye on the 2022 season now, and contracts very much up for grabs. Anderson is a Kings Lynn asset who's been unfortunate in previous spells with the club in 2018 and 19, but has also shown several encouraging signs, they say, in his championship racing for Berwick, and the Dane now has 3 home meetings to show that he can get to grips with the Adrian Flux Arena circuit. Well, what will happen next for Kings Lynn is they're racing Peterborough home and away. That's the next 2 fixtures for them, and then they're away at Wolves, so some tricky fixtures. And it was Wolves versus Peterborough on Monday night in the Premiership, a very close meeting and a first away defeat for Peterborough, who have been very strong, of course, through the course of this season. Still managed to claim a league point out of it. It finished 47-43. And considering the injury that they've had to Ulrich Ostergaard and how important he's been to the Peterborough team, I think both sides fairly happy with that. Peterborough happy with the point, and Wolves happy with the 3 points, and just managing to get that win over the line.
Yeah, interesting meeting, interesting result for both sides there, and I think they'll both be happy. Wolves keep the clean sheet at home. Peterborough, as you mentioned, it's their first away defeat. They've had 2 home defeats to Belle Vue. Their first away defeat, they get a point from it, but they show once again that they just aren't going to go away. And with the way that team is structured, it's a bad blow to have Ulrich Ostergaard out. But at least the saving grace for them is this strong reserve they're always going to have. We've seen it with Ulrich himself. We saw it with Bomber. Now we're seeing it with Hans Andersen. And whoever it is in September will doubtless be the same, whether it's Bomber again or whether it's Scott Nichols or whoever goes down there, are going to pile up massive numbers of points. And that is keeping Peterborough in meetings. They've been to Wolves now and only lost by 4. They've been to Belle Vue and drawn. So that suggests that in a 2-legged tie that they're going to go into in the playoffs, they're going to be there or thereabouts. Peterborough will look back at these last night and saying that they've beaten Wolves on aggregate. I know we don't have the bonus point anymore. In fact, I wish we did. I used to enjoy the aggregate bonus point. But Peterborough beat Wolves quite comfortably at the showground earlier in the season in a really entertaining meeting, and then they've only gone down by 4 last night. So I think they'll feel that's a decent night's work, and they've got people that can get around that track. And Wolves keep on winning at home. It will take a very good team to get the better of Wolves round Monmore. It's just a question of whether they can click enough on the same night to give someone a hammering, which is what they've done when Wolves have good playoff campaigns. They tend to take the first leg at home first and build up a big lead in the first 8 or 9 races. It's happened numerous times, and that's what Peter Adams will be trying to do come September, October time.
Well, let's hear from Peter Adams right now. I think he's just pleased to get through that meeting and get the 3 points on the board, even though it was a little bit too close for comfort, perhaps. He's been speaking with Robin Allen.
A very tough meeting for the Wolves.
Yeah, we knew it would be. You know, they're a strong team, Peterborough, well in the running for the title, I would say, and haven't lost it away all season, but we had just about too much strength for him in the end, but it was touch and go, you know, with such a strong reserve as Hans Andersen.
Now, you're looking at Sam Masters, another strong showing from him at number 1 with 11 points.
Yeah, I would say Sam is probably the best rider in this league at the minute, and he had a very good night. Shame about the last race where we thought the guy on 1 completely anticipated the start, otherwise he might have had more points, but no, he's another very strong showing from him.
And there's been some terrific races here at Monmore Green this season, and P10 was another one with a great battle between Fiani and Sam, and then Brock packing in for 3rd.
Yeah, a lot of very good races here tonight, and same again, you know, last week against Belle Vue. So we're delivering top draw entertainment here at the minute, and I think that's been reflected in the attendances. A lot of people want to see this young, exciting team of ours, and we're intent on keeping our foot on the pedal.
They certainly are keeping their foot on the pedal, and of course finishing top of the league, a big priority for Peter Adams, not least because it gives them the choice of who they'll race against in the playoffs, and that's something that he's alluded to in not just interviews today, but interviews over the previous weeks of who they want to race against and who they want to avoid. Who do you think Peter Adams will pick?
I think at the moment it's very early to say, bearing in mind you don't know what might happen in terms of injuries or any dramatic changes beforehand. I suspect they, at the moment, maybe Sheffield, because they've done okay at home against Sheffield. They had one big home win against Sheffield. Belle Vue last week ran Wolves really close themselves. In fact, arguably should have won. They were 8 points in front at one stage, so Wolves might try and avoid Belle Vue. But having said that, they won at the National Speedway Stadium themselves, so it's going to be a close call. Probably of the 4 at the moment, you might edge towards Sheffield, but then if Sheffield carry on the form that they're showing, then who knows? And of course, there's no guarantee that Wolves will come top, because Belle Vue and Peterborough have both still got matches to go that they can affect that.
Let's hear from the top scorer for Wolves last night, and somebody who has been pretty unbeatable and was certainly unbeatable around the National Speedway Stadium, in fact, a week or two ago. Sam Masters is speaking with Robin Allen.
Yeah, it was hard. It shouldn't have been that hard, really. I think a few of the boys from the Peterborough team got away with a few flyers there and disadvantaged us at the time. In fact, I lost 2 heats, and it was both from unsatisfactory starts in my eyes, but anyway, we got the win, and I'm happy, and all the boys dug deep, so stoked for the boys.
And you look at Ryan Douglas, and obviously he's switched to reserve, and it's bearing fruit for him now.
Yeah, he had a little rough start the last week's start of the meeting, and then he come good at the end, and he bring it on for today. So that was awesome to see Ryan do well, and but everyone chipped in, scored their points, and good win against a tough team too. Yeah.
And you're now still unbeaten here at Monmore Green, which is great to show that you really mean business this season.
Touch wood. We'll keep it that way, and we've had a lot of close meetings here, so we can't slip up, and we need to keep it rolling. So we've got a good bunch of boys in our team, and we all get on well, and we're all working together good. So hopefully keep it rolling.
And a little word on Leon Flynn. He's a rider that's shown a lot of promise, and he didn't give up at times.
Nah, you can see he's doing awesome. There's no pressure on him. He's here to learn really, and we're here to help him. So he's doing a good job, and he's only going to get better. He's got a good style. His bikes are always good. He's ready to go. So yeah, definitely a good little rider.
And another bumper crowd here at Monmore Green.
Good, yeah, that's awesome for the club, you know. I know how much they were struggling early on when we had limited crowd, and it's just awesome that everyone's coming out and supporting the club.
Don't be alarmed. That was just an alarm in the pits. Do not adjust your sets. So next up for Wolves then, as we mentioned earlier, they face Kings Lynn next Monday, and then next Thursday they're away at Sheffield, so they've got a bit of time between their next fixtures. Coming up on No Breaks, No Fear, we're going to look at the Championship, and lots to look forward to this coming week, and a couple of big fixtures for more than just on-track reasons, particularly for Birmingham and for Newcastle. We'll talk more about those. And we're going to hear a little chat with Craig Cook as well. Phil Lanning has been chatting with the former British champion about where he's at in life at the moment, and maybe what has been the source of perhaps one or two of his problems on the track too. We'll hear from Craig Cook very soon on No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Coming up on No Breaks, No Fear, we're going to have a chat with Craig Cook. Phil Lanning has been talking to the former British champion, and it's quite a revealing interview, and that's coming up in a few moments. First of all, let's look back on the Speedway Grand Prix series, which continued last weekend and continues this weekend, in fact. Wrocław was the location on Friday and Saturday, and it was a double win for Bartosz Marszalik. Of course, watching it was Nigel Pearson.
It was great to see the two British boys doing the business in Wrocław, a wonderful speedway track and some fantastic racing. What about Bartosz Marszalik in the final on Saturday night, right on the line? I posted a sarcastic tweet about how people say that Speedway's first from the gate wins. Well, watch this. And he got quite a interaction on social media. But back to Robert and Ty. I was delighted to see Ty Woffinden with his best performances so far. He's had injuries this season, of course, and it was ironic that he just said he pulled out an old engine from last season, which worked well, and it transformed his form. So sometimes the answer is close to home, and it's the simple things that can work for you. And I was delighted to see Ty doing what he did on Friday and Saturday night, look more like his old self. On Saturday in particular, of course. Friday was tough for him. But certainly he's proved that he's still a world-class rider, and on his day can beat anybody. Such a shame that he scored 14 points in the 5 qualifying races on Saturday night, but then couldn't follow it up, could he, in the semi-final? That's always a shame. Taking a bit of a gamble on gate positions, and that can be all important when it comes down to the crunch. So disappointing that his 5 qualifying rides weren't rewarded, really, with the points that his night's work really justified. But the encouraging signs there for Woofy are that he's getting better, he's improving, and hopefully plenty more to come. Now, what about young Robert? Brilliant stuff from Robert Lambert. Thomas Kaczynski in his pit corner. Now, if you don't see the GP, let me tell you that Kaczynski was a long-time ally of Thomas Golub. He was his right-hand man for many, many years, Thomas Kaczynski. And he is a fantastic plus for Robert Lambert to have in his pit corner. It's only going to benefit him. Thomas rates Robert Lambert as a potential world champion of the future. He said that. He believes he's a world-class talent. And that can only benefit Robert to have that belief instilled into him from good people like Thomas Kaczynski as well. I do believe that he stepped it up a level, Robert Lambert, to see him sponsored like he is by big blue-chip companies like Red Bull. To see him part of the big time on the world stage, I think is brilliant, and people at Kings Lynn should feel extremely proud of the role they've played in that. I would just like to see when restrictions ease, travelling becomes a little bit easier. I just think it'd be nice if Robert could go to Kings Lynn one night and just be introduced to the fans, do a lap of honour, and things like that. I think that would be a great thing for Kings Lynn, because he won the European Championship and he's not been to Kings Lynn since then. So I just think it'd be nice if we could see him just for a lap of honour, if you like, in front of the Kings Lynn crowd. He's going to have a good remainder of the season, I'm sure, in the Grand Prix Series. We move on again this weekend to another double header. But of course, whilst it's live on television, we should encourage you all to go and support your local track in the UK. Get right behind your Speedway team, wherever you are this weekend, and watch the GP when you get back, or record it, and enjoy the action on television when you get back from the meeting that you're going to. But well done to Robert Lambert. Good to see Ty riding so well too. Shame they're not going to be in the British final, but understandable with the travel and all the rest of it. But the British final lineup, in my opinion, is stronger than last year. And I really can't wait. Live on Eurosport. Tickets available now for Belle Vue. Go to the Belle Vue website for Monday, August the 16th, the Sports Insure British Final. So exciting times, and enjoy your Speedway.
As Nigel Pearson, and joining me in this episode as well is Dave Rowe. And Dave, in your job of reporting for the Speedway European Championships in the past, you've trekked across Europe and been to some of these far-flung places in Poland. Tell us about Lublin, which is where the Speedway GP Series heads to this weekend coming.
Yeah, they're going to Lublin this weekend for a double header. And that's right on the eastern edge of Poland. Very ambitious club, Lublin, have come up through the leagues in the last few years and have been doing a lot of work to the stadium and also to the surrounding area as well. It's more and more westernised, that part of Poland now compared to how it was. So we went there for an SEC round back in 2017, and it got rained off, and the general feeling was there wasn't really enough kit there to make the track right when the rain had stopped. We went back there a couple of years later for on the 21 round, and we saw the improvement. Now they're staging Grand Prix. It's not what I would call a classic Polish racetrack. It's not like a Wrocław or a Torun or a Leszno. It can be tricky, long straights, can be bumpy going into the bends. You won't quite see, I don't think, the action that you saw at Wrocław. And it will be interesting too to see how Dominic Cabrera rides the wild card. He did fast trapper when he gets going. He could take some points off some of the more fancied runners. And the game with it being a double header, you've got to get it right throughout the weekend. If it all goes wrong on Friday, there's no time to really catch up with yourself. So 2 more rounds this weekend in Lublin.
It's all go for those international riders. And somebody who used to live that lifestyle, of course, was Craig Cook, who has been a Grand Prix rider in previous years. And this season currently is racing with Ipswich and Glasgow. But he started off life in the Premiership this season with Kings Lynn. And things there changed after a few weeks. Let's hear from Craig now, because I think it's been well documented that he hasn't necessarily lived up to his full potential over the last year or two. And maybe he's starting to put a finger on it. He's been chatting with Phil Lanning.
Topsy-turvy start to the year, or the season, you sort of like your old self again.
Yeah, starting
the swagger back.
Yeah, starting to feel it, and we just did a few things, even like adjusting my diet as well. I feel like really jittery, so we've taken a few things out of my diet, and like what? I'm not saying, but just change a few things with my diet, and it just helps me feel more composed. I've obviously struggled with anxiety, and
down in the Ribena or something.
No, but things like that. You just adjusting things, and I feel a lot more composed, and I'm not on edge all the time and waiting to go and full of beans. So it just helped me stay composed and focused.
You said at the start of the season, was it the anxiety and stuff you spoke? Was that down to lockdown and not riding last year? Was it down to diet and just getting back into being a speeder rider again?
Oh, a mix of a lot of things. Obviously jumping back on the bike after a year and a half it feels a bit strange, and obviously with the new tyre in the mix, it made things very difficult. But like I said, I work hard, and we come to Glasgow, we've done a lot of testing, and I felt good, but I haven't been making starts, I've been inconsistent, but we changed a couple of things before tonight, looked at a couple of things, and 5 unbelievable guests tonight, and I felt like I was a bike length ahead of everybody every gate. So
is that the last piece of the jigsaw? Because your straight line speed seems better, and you seem to be dialed. But is that the last thing with the gating?
When you're out in front, you can race the track how you want to race it. You're not worrying about anybody else in front of you. So I don't feel 100% comfortable, but I'm still not overly keen on these tyres. But tonight's the last match on them anyway. We go for the new one now, so it's another thing to contend with. But hopefully that will be better. I did ride it at Peterborough on a very consistent service, so it was difficult to tell. But I'm confident it will be better because I'm not overly keen on this tyre.
You've said a lot in the past about you've mentioned about your strength of mind and what you've had to deal with, whatever. You've shown this season, considering what you've had to go through and all the ups and downs, the strength of mind you have got, and it's maybe something that you don't probably take on board, that you are strong, and the way you come back from the King's Lynn situation and the way you're riding for Ipswich now, you must be something inside that tells you've done well.
Yeah, I have done well, and I look back and I've made a lot of mistakes in my time during Speedway, and I always go back to the Eastbourne incident, and I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want anyone to get that impression anymore. I feel a bit embarrassed about the whole situation, so I just want to be a better person and be an ambassador for Speedway, and eventually pass my knowledge down to other kids and try and help them. And
Did you learn a lot from the Eastbourne situation?
Yeah, I felt like an idiot, and it's not great for the sport. And I was disappointed in myself and the way I reacted, and like I said, I don't want to be that person anymore. And obviously, I'm sorry to all these on Fontons and everyone that's seen that, because it's not nice to see. So. But what's changed? What's changed for you? Why? Because you said that you don't feel that person anymore. You don't want to be that sort of. You don't have that fire in this that maybe is what. Do you know what's changed? Maturity. To be honest, probably a little bit of maturity, but a lot of it is being my diet and the way I was feeling inside. I don't quite know what it is, but I need to have a look at the window and get some tests done and see what's going on, because I tend to eat certain foods and not feel very well and feel jittery and on edge. So I just feel a lot more composed in myself, able to think clearly. I've got a clear mind, and it's not nice when your body feels shaky and you feel on edge, you feel jittery, and that's what led to the anxiety. So,
well, you are what you eat, they say.
Yeah, exactly. So, we've been tweaking things over the past few months, and I'm starting to feel a lot better in myself. Feel strong, feel composed, and happy. Because when you're on an edge all the time and you can't sleep and you feel jittery, you become aggravated, and
you're tired the next day, and
you feel
everything gets on top of you.
It's constant fatigue, and I felt like over the past few years, this has been going a long time. So we've been, it's something that I've looked at this year, and it's making a massive difference. I feel so much more composed, happier in myself, and the mental clarity I have right now is fantastic. I'm able to think clearly, and everything's never a problem. I put everything in perspective, and I just feel extremely happy right now, and clear, and feel really good. Great stuff.
It's Craig Cook speaking with Phil Lanning. It can't be great if you're lining up for a race and not feeling 100% on yourself, physically or mentally. And if there's a cause for that, then surely that's got to be something that you can look to fix, and that will help your performance. Dave Rowe is with us. Dave, what did you make of that chat with Craig Cook and Phil Lanning there?
It's a really interesting chat, and it's an interesting point. And I think perhaps over the last 18 months, 2 years or so, in general, people maybe understand a bit more now the importance of simple things like eating and sleeping and being healthy, not just healthy diet, healthy mind, everything else. And there must come a point where it all boils up. Obviously, sleeping. We know Speedway riders have enormous schedules, and whether you're flying or driving or whatever, sometimes you're sleeping in difficult places or not sleeping much, or you're eating the wrong things. And it doesn't surprise me that people are looking at that now in more detail. And I think there'll be more work that goes into that, as he hinted, during the winter, because these little things, they all add up, and they probably then make the difference that create those extra tenths or whatever when you get on track in such an ultra competitive sport. But I think it's a good point. I think it's more than about just Speedway. It's about life in general. And I think, again, with the pandemic and how we've all recovered from that, or hopefully have, it's about life as well, and the way people react to different circumstances. So it's an interesting chat with Craig there.
And as well, I think when fans see a Speedway rider not performing, they put it immediately down to poor equipment, or they haven't set their bike up right, or it just being something as black and white as that. Whereas you've got to bearing in mind there are human factors involved, aren't there? And as you say, there's so many things that can affect that. You don't know what's going on in any Speedway rider's life. They might have a young baby and been up all night. It could be something as simple as that. It could be the fact that they don't feel very well for whatever reason. There's so many things that can affect the performance of any sportsman, and Speedway being one of them.
Yeah, and everyone can have a bad day at work. I'm sure I've had, and I'm sure you have as well at some point. And unfortunately, the nature of professional sport is that if you have a bad day at work, it's happening in a very public place. If you're in an office to have a bad day at work, well, you probably hide away and no one knows too much about it. But if you're on track in front of X number of people, or you're on TV, that is there for the world to see, and also for the world to talk about on social media shortly after. Now, everyone knows that you go into that with your eyes open. You know that's going to happen, but it sometimes doesn't make it any easier to deal with. So there's all sorts of factors that could go just beyond mechanical issues or whatever. There's so much more on the human side, and again, maybe people are beginning to get a bit more understanding of that, and maybe a bit more tolerant of it as well.
It's going to be a very busy week for Craig Cook, because in action on Monday, but also back in action on Thursday, Ipswich versus Sheffield. And then on Friday, Glasgow versus Scunthorpe. The very best of luck to Craig Cook. Another team who've got a busy week are the Poole Pirates, who, has to be said, Dave, they're thundering through the Championship at the moment.
I don't think anyone in the sport will be surprised to see where Poole are, or where they potentially could be when they've raced the matches in hand. Don't forget they were hampered themselves by the COVID restrictions. They took the decision to not run many home matches until the restrictions were removed, and they've got a busy home schedule to come. They were mega impressive home and away against Leicester, who are again one of the strongest teams in the league. You can't win at Leicester without being a very good team, and they did. Then they beat Leicester convincingly at home last Wednesday. These Edinburgh meetings are going to be really, really interesting, because Edinburgh are a form team as well. I would think both of them will be in the playoffs. Could meet again. But interesting last week was that most of the big head-to-heads between the heat leaders against Leicester, they went Poole's way, with two teams that are built in quite a similar fashion. And that's going to be the case again this week when you put together people like Danny King, Rory Schlein, Stevie Worrell up against people like Sam Masters, Richie Worrell, so a brotherly clash there, and Josh Pickering. Poole v Edinburgh home and away. Definitely, if you're in those areas, those are going to be matches definitely to watch.
Well, let's hear from Stefan Nielsen right now, who's one of the Poole riders, but also one of the two Poole riders who have hooked up with Sheffield this last week. Stefan Nielsen is in the side as a reserve, and Danyon Hume, who we're going to hear from in a sec, has also joined them for a few matches at the moment as well. First of all, here is Stefan. He's with Ryan Guest.
Well, Stefan Nielsen, we've just moved into August, but finally bagged yourself a Premiership team place once again with Sheffield. What was your thoughts when you got the call?
Obviously super excited. I've said in a couple of interviews this year that I wanted a top league spot in the Premiership, and better late than never. No, I'm looking forward to it. Sheffield team obviously on the brink of the playoffs, so we're a job to be done now, and make sure we make it into there, and then if we hit the playoffs, anything can happen from there. So exciting times ahead, and I'm just looking forward to getting stuck in.
Yeah, one of the things team boss Simon Stead has reiterated time and time again is the need for points from reserve. Obviously that's where you're coming in and slotting into the team, so he certainly feels you're a man who can deliver these extra points that the Tigers desperately need right now.
Obviously replacing James Wright, I've rode with him the last couple of meetings because he's been guesting for Poole, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Everyone wants the points, and it's not going to be any easy races, but I feel confident. I've had a good start to the year. I keep saying start to the year, but it's been a good year so far, and I'm just hopefully I can carry that on. There's a lot of the same riders in these leagues anyway, like Championship, Premiership. There's not a huge difference, so same sort of riders I'll be riding against, and I'm just looking forward to getting stuck in and showing what I can do. It's one of those moments where I've been waiting for an opportunity. I've now got my opportunity, and it's now time for me to show what I can do.
Yeah, as you've kind of touched upon as well, the general consensus seems to be that Sheffield haven't quite fulfilled the potential that many thought that this team would have. That they are gradually making changes. The management and promotion never rest on the laurels there as well, and I think you're of the same viewpoint that there is plenty more to come from this side.
Yeah, there is. Obviously, I've seen the reports like everyone else that there's a few of the top end riders that have been struggling a little bit, and it's one of those things. Speedway can be really tricky at times, but it's a good group of lads. There, obviously, the potential there is high, and we've got a good team. So I'm looking forward to gelling with them and getting to know them a little bit better on and off the track, and hopefully we can all pull together and get some wins on board.
There's Stefan Nielsen there, Poole rider, but now one of the reserves for the Sheffield Tigers. And obviously Sheffield had a great trip to King's Lynn at the start of this week, and they've got more fixtures with their next trip back to East Anglia, visiting Ipswich later this week. And of course, in between time, Poole have got a very busy time as well, so it's going to be a very busy few days for Stefan Nielsen, because then they're heading on a bit of a northern tour, as we'll hear in a bit, visiting Berwick and Newcastle, amongst others. And also on that mission will be Danyon Hume, who's also been speaking with Ryan Guest.
Well, Danyon Hume, the 2021 season for yourself so far with the Poole Pirates, it's been something of a breakthrough season, would you say?
Yeah, I have. I've really been enjoying my riding, and it's been shown on track. It was a long winter for everyone. Obviously, the COVID put a stop to us racing in 2020. So, yeah, I just hit the gym and put all my time and effort into preparing my bike and myself. And, yeah, this year I've just really been enjoying my riding and my time with Poole.
Yeah, been enjoying it, and you always have had that self-belief that you really could kick on, haven't you?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I always aim high in the sport, and it feels like I'm slowly stepping the ladder now. And with this opportunity I've got tonight and Thursday, I'm just going to grab it with both hands and show that I'm capable of doing a job.
Yeah, we'll come on to that shortly. Just talking about that Poole team, though, obviously a lot of experience with Danny King, someone you know really well, Rory Schlein, Steve Worrell as well. Do you think their experience has helped you so far this year?
Oh, massively, yeah, especially Danny. From when I first started out, he was always in the background, so I was obviously with him with Ipswich early days, and then with him at Poole this year, and Rory as well as with him at Ipswich. Everyone just bounce off everyone, and we'll talk, and it's a good group of lads, and it's grabbing the experience they've got with both hands, and pushing on with my career myself.
Yeah, after a difficult start to the season for the Pirates, obviously having to delay the home meetings because of the COVID restrictions. In recent weeks, everything seems to be coming together. It was a terrific win at Leicester a couple of weeks ago, and then followed it up nicely at home with a win over the Lions as well.
That was a big win, especially away at Leicester. I heard that they weren't beaten, I think it was 2 or 3 years at home, so to go there with Poole, and we didn't have Ben Cook with us either, and we had Alfie a guest at number 2. They were good 2 guests to come in, and to get the win there was fantastic, and all the boys are buzzing, and we just took that on to the Wednesday meet and then finished the job off.
Yeah, this is a massive week for the Pirates now. Edinburgh at home on Wednesday, and then 3 meetings in 3 days on the Northern Tour over the weekend.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Obviously it's going to be hard prepping the bikes, but it's one of those, just got to get on with it. And this week's extremely busy for me. Obviously tonight I'm here, Wednesday at Poole, Thursday Ipswich, Friday Edinburgh, Saturday Berwick, Sunday Newcastle. But I wouldn't change it. I love doing what I'm doing, and it's time on the bike, and hopefully I can improve.
Yeah, and we're speaking ahead of King's Lynn Sheffield on Monday night. You've got a guest booking at reserve, got another one for the Tigers at Ipswich on Thursday, and promoter of Sheffield, Damien Bates, has openly said if you impress in these 2 meetings, then you could be slotted in potentially as the rising star for the remainder of the season. Yeah,
so I've just got to go out there, improve myself, enjoy my racing, what I've been doing, remain positive, and I've got Gary on the spanners, and he's been doing a good job this year, so I'm really enjoying it, and I just want to prove a point and hopefully get another job.
Fingers crossed, and we certainly wish you all the best, Dan.
Cheers, mate, thank you.
There's Danyon Hume speaking with Ryan Guest, and Dave Rowe is with us in this episode. And in the Championship, it has been confirmed now the top 6 will be the teams in the playoffs, and you'd have to say that you'd fancy Poole, certainly on current form, to certainly be one of those. Even though they've started later, they're certainly making up for lost time, aren't they?
The rule book always was for the top 6. That was what was agreed at the AGM in 2019 when it became clear there'd be 12 clubs in the Championship. They went top 6. There was some talk because of the late start to the season and the possibility of further delays about that going to top 4, but that rule book has there's been no additional rule book amendments made, no supplementaries issued. So we are at top 6 with the top 2 straight to the semi-finals and third to 6th racing in the quarters. And the top 6 as they currently stand are looking good, although I would certainly say Eastbourne will have something to say about that if they can get some away wins. Poole are going to be there. I'm absolutely convinced of that, because it's not just what the top 3 have done there, it's what they're getting elsewhere. They've just signed Danish rider Benjamin Basso, who will make his debut this weekend, but it was great to hear from Danyon Hume there, a rider who has been desperate for a chance at this level, desperate for a club to take a chance on him and stick by him. And it doesn't surprise me at all that now that somebody has stuck by him, he's showing what he can do. He came through at Birmingham in the National League a few years ago. He's had bad luck with injuries, but the ability has always been there. And he's been one of these riders who's unfortunately been shifted around team places at the higher level and never got the chance to settle. But now he has got that chance. He's showing what he can do. He's winning important races for Poole.
Well, Poole versus Edinburgh on Wednesday, and then it is that Northern Tour for the Poole Pirates as they head up to Edinburgh for the return on Friday, Berwick on Saturday, Newcastle on Sunday, which we'll talk more about very soon. One team in the Championship who are desperate for people to attend this week of all weeks is the Birmingham Brummies, who put out a rallying cry to all their supporters, telling them that really, unless we get enough people through the turnstiles and the level of attendance dramatically increases, that this club could be in trouble, which is not something you want to see. I know, Dave, that you are involved with Birmingham in that you are one of the announcers there. You've been there a long time, and these are not scenes we want to see in Speedway, are they? We don't want clubs finding themselves in this position in the first place, ideally, but we want the crowds through the doors to support the clubs and keep Speedway very much alive.
Yeah, I have. Obviously, I declare investors' interest because I've been involved there since they reopened, basically in 2007. I've seen all manner of ups and downs there over a decade now, including the mid-season shutdown in 14, which I could quite safely say was largely down to promotional ineptitude. Things are different at the moment, and things have been very tough for Birmingham. Obviously, on the debit side, there was the opening night when they raced against Redcar in track conditions that weren't right. The track is now much improved. The last meeting they rode, ironically, against Redcar, the racing was excellent, albeit it was a bit too dusty on that night because it was absolutely boiling hot. Well, thankfully, it's not as boiling hot now, so I don't think there'll be that issue. There's been a lot going on against Birmingham this season, against the home matches, not least the development work around the stadium, roadworks everywhere. People probably, I'm not going to use the word excuse, but people are thinking of reasons not to go. All the restrictions that stop people from paying cash at the turnstiles. They do have an older generation of public who wouldn't have been wanting to book online. So it's been tough for them. But as you say, the restrictions are clear. They've gone. People can pay on the gate. The club needs the supporters. And I know there are fans from other clubs who are planning to go to Perry Bar on Wednesday night. I hope they'll get a reaction on Wednesday. I think they probably will. It then goes beyond that, of course, because there's several more meetings to come. And this is the kind of appeal, and I'm sure we'll touch on Newcastle shortly, this is the kind of appeal you can only really make once. They've laid the cards out on the table. They've said what the situation is. We don't want to see clubs. We saw Somerset were effectively the first victims of COVID. We don't want any more. And certainly Birmingham, their reopening has been more difficult than most. So let's hope they get the reaction they want tomorrow and in the weeks to come.
Let's hear from one of the co-owners now of Birmingham Speedway. Laurence Rogers has been speaking with Ryan Guest.
It is a very big night for us, yeah. We need to get people in. Without saying any more than that's been said by David in the press releases, we've got not enough people coming to the turnstiles, and we're missing a lot of the older generation and the younger ones as well. The kids don't seem to be coming at the moment, whether that's because of COVID, whatever, parents keeping them in. But the attendances have been dramatically lower than they were in 2019, and that's caused a great problem for Peter and David.
Yeah, understandably, the press release, the statement that went out last Wednesday night was very concerning. David Mason was totally open. If Wednesday's attendance isn't good enough, then they could face a difficult decision to have to close the club potentially.
They would have that decision to make, yes, but hopefully things will improve on Wednesday, and we can look forward to finishing this season off.
Yeah, definitely. Wednesday against Kent, the visitors. Look at their lineup. They've brought in Troy Batchelor. They've got Scott Nichols as well. So certainly an attractive opposition.
Yeah, very solid looking team now. Troy has definitely been getting their average down well to get back into the Championship. And we knew Kent were looking at him, and they announced today, and they've got a good young kid in Jake Melford as well coming in, who's been scoring points.
Yeah, and just going back to the actual night itself, the occasion, it's kids go free. There's going to be lots going on. Centre green experience for supporters as well. And like you say, just need people there. There does seem to have been a good response, but now it's time for people to put the money where their mouths is and turn up on the terraces on Wednesday night.
Yes, very much so. And I've had a lot of messages saying we've been talking to our friends, our family. People are going out, getting people to come along. We need them to do that. But we also need the old regulars back again. COVID isn't gone, we know, but things are safer now. People are double vaccinated. Please get there. It's your club. Do you want to lose it?
Laurence Rogers, then, they're just reiterating what we've been saying, really. They need people to come through the gates. They've got wage bills, obviously, for not just the riders, but for other things as well, and the upkeep of the stadium and paying members of staff and all these things. And a lot of money has gone into the club via a GoFundMe page, but of course that was to replace the equipment that they lost in the fire and the vandalism that they had before the start of the season as well. So really, if you can make it down to Birmingham, if you're in the area, make a special trip and support them. And as well as that, you get the dulcet tones of Dave Rowe thrown in at no extra charge as well. So that's got to be an extra added value, as we'd call it.
But that's an interesting way of putting it. But yes, it's me and myself and Ryan Guest on the mic, and yeah, we try and hopefully it'll be a good night, and hopefully it'll be entertaining, and it's a good. When prepared right, and Dixie Dean doing a good job on the track now. It is a good, fair racetrack. Kent, as we know, an attractive side. So let's hope everyone at Birmingham gets a good night. And in many ways, actually, the final score on Wednesday is not the big story. The story is whether there's enough people there. Surely, I've always wondered why Birmingham Speedway cannot attract a crowd in such a big city when you've got massive other sports clubs in the area, especially who aren't playing games at the moment. Surely that club can break even, and that's got to be the minimum hope.
Well, the best of luck there to them and everybody involved with Birmingham. And also, as we mentioned there, we touched on Newcastle. Newcastle have got a big weekend. They've issued a similar warning, really, for fans to make that trip to Brough Park. We know the situation that Newcastle have had. They've had a lot of problems with since the takeover from the previous promotion. Really, Rob Grant has had problems, and then of course COVID happened and the restrictions, which meant that they couldn't get as many people into the stadium as possible, which we know about from many other clubs as well. But again, same thing, the restrictions are now lifted, and to get down there and support them. And actually you get two meetings this Sunday. They're in action, Newcastle versus Poole, and then Newcastle versus Plymouth straight after it. So it's two meetings back to back, 4:00 for the first one against Poole, and then 6:00 versus Plymouth, to really get your bang for your buck and get down there and support Newcastle and see some of the best riders in the league as well, you'd have to say.
Yeah, I must admit I was surprised and impressed when I saw the pricing structure. I know generally people don't like double headers. Supporters and promoters, double headers basically provide double the cost, and also sometimes they've been known to drag on in the past, and I'm sure that Newcastle will be hoping that doesn't happen. But then when I saw the pricing structure, I saw £20 the double-header. You have to say that's outstanding value. It's probably a gamble to an extent from the Newcastle promotion to say, well, let's try and get a crowd in at a reasonable attendance charge for that double header. It is phenomenally good value, £20 for those 30 races. And you say a statement that's quite similar to Birmingham. The circumstances are a bit different. The stadium is owned by the same group as Birmingham. They have been subject to similar restrictions. The issue with Newcastle was, I think, more surrounding the takeover, and they basically admitted that they had to take the club over twice, and a lot of the money that went into the first takeover was lost for all sorts of reasons which we can't go into, and that eventually that is going to have a massive effect on your business. They quite clearly built a team this year that was supposed to be affordable. It's won home matches. Okay, it lost to a strong team a couple of weeks ago, but it's won, I think, 3 home matches so far. So it's competitive at home. There's no question about that. There'll be some great stuff on show on Sunday when you look at the riders that are coming as visiting riders, and can the home team turn them over? So yeah, it's great value. And again, I hope for Rob Grant and the promotion there that they do get the crowd they need, because if they don't, then you wonder where it's going to go. And we do not want clubs leaving the sport at all, but we certainly don't want clubs leaving the sport mid-season. So let's just hope it works out for them at Newcastle. Good luck to them. Yeah, so that's Sunday, Newcastle versus Poole, and we've already talked about how strong Poole are. So it's going to be a big one there, and of course with Steve Worrell and the likes involved, they've got quite a bit of experience riding around Newcastle, so it's going to be an interesting one. And then Plymouth, of course, as it stands, Jason Crump is due, at the point of recording this, is due to make his comeback for Plymouth tonight. We're doing this on the Tuesday, so that was the plan. So if all goes well, maybe you'll get to see Jason Crump in that meeting as well, along with Bjarne Pedersen. So some potential great value. Of course, Bjarne Pedersen, a bit of a Newcastle legend from way back when. So lots in there for Newcastle fans, not just for the home team, but some of the visiting riders are ex Newcastle Diamonds as well. So that's a couple of teams who desperately need your support, but all Speedway teams need your support. So there's plenty to go at over the course of the season. And next, we're going to have a look at Mildenhall, who were fairly delayed getting their season up and running, but they are gradually getting there now. We're going to hear from a couple of their riders. We'll hear from Elliot Kelly, and we'll hear from Jason Edwards next on No Brakes, No Fear.
No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
I'm Ian Brannan. I'm joined by Dave Rowe, and we're just going to turn our attention to one of the National Development Leagues to round things off in this episode. We're going to look at Mildenhall, because they've a funny old start to the season, haven't they, Dave? It's taken them a long time to really get anywhere, sort of start of July, before I think they got any league meetings on the board with one thing and another, but they are gradually getting there now, and they're up against Belle Vue this Sunday.
I probably cursed Mildenhall because I made them my pick for the title. They're the one standalone team in the National Development League. I thought the team they put together was excellent. They've had a couple of injuries. They've had postponements of home matches. They've had home matches where it's poured with rain at the start, so it's been a tale of bad luck so far. But a very attractive side indeed, and led by Jordan Jenkins and Jason Edwards. They got a win on the board last weekend against Armadale. And we talk about the developing riders of the future. There's plenty in that Belle Vue side too. So again, anyone with time on their hands on Sunday to get down to West Road, because there's plenty of good riders on show there.
Let's hear from one of the Mildenhall lineup now, Jason Edwards. He's had a funny old week, such is the life in Speedway. Released by Eastbourne and then signed by Plymouth. And here he is speaking with Robin Allen.
Jason, your first meeting done at Mildenhall for 2021, so what are your thoughts on that?
No, it's just, all I can say is it's brilliant to be back. It was spitting, then it got a bit heavier, and I knew what happened a couple of weeks ago here, and I'm thinking, please don't be the same type thing. And credit to Greg and everyone that does the track, they prepared it all for the rain, and they knew what was coming, and a little bit of water in, natural, bit of whatever they chose, and no, it was just brilliant to get the meeting on. And then after the first 4 races, it all turned over, and probably the best the track's ever been. So
No, it was, like I say, for me, I just feel like it's been so stop-starty. We're in August now, and we don't seem to have had many racing, so no, like I say, it's just brilliant to get going again, and it's a good way for Mildenhall to kick off their home campaign.
Now, you've had a bit of a difficult week because you've gone from having a championship team to then end up not having a team, and then doing some guest bookings, and then you're back into the National League. So is it for you just to get back racing and get back winning races and getting some confidence?
I think, like, regardless of who you're riding for, whatever, it's always get as many meetings as you can and never turn any down if you can. And obviously there will be some times where you can't do it, but like for me, obviously I got dropped from Eastbourne and they made their changes and did that type of thing, but immediately after that I got 2 guest bookings. We're here today and I've had 3 meetings in 3 days, and I don't think I've even had 2 on the trot this year. Like I say, we're in August and it just don't seem to make sense. But for me, like, I had a really good meeting last night at Leicester, and to bring on it again today, and I'm just enjoying my race and I enjoy riding, and it was just real fun to be back with everyone. Like, I haven't seen them all for a while. It's been, I keep looking at updates, see how they're all doing, and it's never nice to miss a meeting when you feel like you could contribute something, whatever that may be. But it's just fun to be riding, it's fun to be racing, and it's fun to be back here.
Now, the conditions, as we were saying, wasn't the easiest, but there was some ding-dong battles going on today, and it was some really good racing amongst both teams.
Yeah, well, I've never really been a number 1 in the National League. See you later. I've never really been a number 1, and I'm thinking, number 1, I've got to go out and heat 1, and it's a bit slushy, a bit wet, but like I say, after the first couple of races, it all turned over, and it really came good in the end. And like, even like heat 13 didn't quite go my way, but we're trying and nipping and tucking, and even like 15, I just got there in the end, and they're the type of races you want. And yeah, forget the start part. After that, it's just like I say, it's brilliant because heat 13 and 15 in National League is in heat 2 in the Championship, and they're the type of races that you need to be doing to be getting better. And yeah, like coming off over the finish line, and then suddenly all the people at the bar, they start cheering, and yeah, you can't beat that feeling. And like I say, it's just the coolest thing to be back.
And of course, for a lot of the Mildenhall faithful, their season, as I say, has been affected with one thing and another, and they're only just really getting going now, which seems bizarre to say in July, August that's the case, but that's the situation with Mildenhall. They're playing catch-up, a bit like Poole. But Jason Edwards, they're released by Eastbourne, but then signed by Plymouth this last week as well. So he's getting his championship meetings in too.
A surprise, that one. Sometimes when you hear about team changes, you kind of get a vibe, you kind of know they're coming. And to be honest, the move from Eastbourne to replace Jason Edwards with Nathan Ablett did come somewhat out of the blue, and that's nothing against Nathan Ablett, who's impressed me a couple of times. I've seen him in the National League so far this season. But Jason Edwards is regarded very much as one of the big developing talents, so it was surprising to see Eastbourne release him. And they did mention that they felt he was suffering from a lack of confidence. I saw him make a guest appearance for Birmingham at Leicester last weekend and really gave it a go in difficult conditions. Was impressive. And as you say, going in now at Plymouth, who I think have now had 4 riders in that position at the Rising Star, hopefully this will give them the solution to that role. And I look forward to seeing hopefully some good scores from Jason in the weeks to come.
As I mentioned about Mildenhall, the riders there, the ones that just ride for Mildenhall, have probably not had a lot of action elsewhere. Elliot Kelly is one of those riders who appears in the second halves at Redcar, but Mildenhall very much is his main team. He's a Kings Lynn asset, but hasn't been racing with them so far this season. And great that Mildenhall are now finally getting moving, and he's able to get some of that confidence back.
Yeah, I finally got that sort of the excitement I had a couple of years ago. I mean, over the winter we've upgraded the bikes, everything, and I've been sort of struggling. But I think you look back in 2019, I turned up on bikes that were falling apart, and I'd still go out and enjoy myself. I'd score good points. I just ride with that aggression that I've got back now. It's been missing for the last sort of all of 2020 and this year. I'm back.
Do you think it was just the point that you had that long gap of pretty much doing nothing other than you did some in the British Youth last year?
I think all it is, I mean, you can blame it on whatever really. Because I look back and you think everyone's had a year out. I think I've had a lot more riding in 2020 than most people did. Unless you're going abroad and racing Poland or practicing in France or whatever, then no, it's just, I think it's literally just been in my head. I haven't enjoyed it, and now I see that the problem's been within me. It sort of gives us that sort of realisation that I know it wasn't the bikes, I can't blame anything, it's just myself.
And how good was it to have John Armstrong in the pits today helping you and just having his experience there?
Oh, it was brilliant. I mean, no one knows, especially Mildenhall, no one knows Mildenhall like John does, but he's ridden every track in the country more times than I've really woken up on a morning, you know what I mean? He's got that sort of experience. He's looked today, I think we've made one change to the bike all day, and that was it. And the rest of it was just guidance, sort of changing the way I ride. I think once we've sorted the way I ride the bike out, then we'll start making changes to the bike and pushing for more setups and stuff like that.
And how did you find conditions? Obviously we had the rain beforehand that didn't make it easy, but the track seemed to hold up pretty well.
Yeah, I think the first ride was always going to be a bit sketchy, but after that it's probably genuinely the best I've ever seen the track. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, they've done such a good job with the stocks yesterday and the bangers or whatever they had on. No, I mean, now that it's just turned out beautiful in the end. Just that sort of just the right amount of dirt where you've got that opportunity to go around someone. You can use the track basically.
I mean, do you almost sort of feel like this is the start of the season now?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, forget about the other 3 meetings. This is the first one of the year now. Back down at reserve next week, so yeah, hopefully some bigger points to come.
And the good thing is as well, with you switch down to reserve, you could end up getting the more rides, and obviously the more rides that you get, the potential to build your confidence up again.
Yeah, that's what it's like. If any of the lads are struggling, I'll be always hopefully in contention for another ride. So I mean, that's what I miss. I think in the last couple of years I've had no riding really. I mean, I'll do me meetings and that's it, but no time for practice with work. So it's just going to be bang on. I mean, I loved the odd meeting where you get like 6-7 rides and you come away and you look and you're like, oh, I've scored 14 points here, and you look, and then you realise you've had 7 rides.
As Elliot Kelly, he also made an appearance at the British Under-21 final at Redcar as well as one of the track reserves, and one of those riders that's coming through, certainly one for your radar. Watch that name, and of course the whole lockdown and things of 2020 maybe set him back a little bit, but he certainly seems to be a lad who's got his head screwed on and is looking to make some big waves in British Speedway soon.
Yeah, and there were several riders that obviously the lack of racing in 2020 was going to hamper everyone, but especially for the boys that came through for their first season in 2019. So they got that year's experience on the board. In the case of Elliot Kelly, he had some really good scores that year in 19, got himself an average. Then the National League went in a slightly different direction for this year. So he found himself in the top 5 and not easy with the lack of racing. But I think the more laps he does, he's definitely one to watch out for in the future. And Mildenhall do a great job in developing young riders. There's a long list down the years that they've done so, and it's really good to see that they'll be hosting the Under-19 final in a couple of weeks' time on the 22nd of August. There's a lineup for that coming out, I think, in the near future for that one. And people like Elliot Kelly are riders who they are going to invest their time in. I know he became a Kings Lynn asset as well, and as you say, always seen up in the northeast too. So these are the kind of riders that we want to see develop through the National Development League. And the whole idea of the Rising Star programme is that in a year or 2 or 3 years to come, then these riders will gradually filter their way in at the higher level.
So that was great to hear from Elliot Kelly there, and as we mentioned, one of the places you can go and watch some Speedway this week is Mildenhall at West Row. The full fixtures for Wednesday, it's Birmingham versus Kent, Poole versus Edinburgh, and then Thursday it's Premiership action, Ipswich versus Sheffield, Peterborough versus Kings Lynn, and then on Friday, Edinburgh versus Poole, Glasgow versus Scunthorpe, and Redcar versus Berwick. week. And then on Saturday, Berwick in action again, taking on Poole. Poole on a bit of a northern tour, while the Edinburgh fans are touring the south coast. Poole are on the way up. Berwick versus Poole, Eastbourne versus Birmingham, and Leicester versus Edinburgh on Saturday and Sunday. Double header at Newcastle. Newcastle versus Poole, followed by Newcastle versus Plymouth, both in the Championship. And then in the National Development League, we've got Mildenhall versus Belle Vue, and then back to the Premiership on Monday. Belle Vue versus Peterborough, and Wolverhampton versus Kings Lynn. Those are the fixtures over the next week. Of course, keep up to date with everything that happens in British Speedway online at speedwaygb.co.uk. And get down to your local club. If you can get to any of those, if you're on holiday in an area or you're nearby, you've not been at the Speedway for ages and you're listening to this, get down and support whichever club you can. Go along, because it's the bums on seats we need right now. Get back into it. You'll discover there's lots of places that you can spread out. So if you're maybe a bit concerned about one or two things, find yourself a nice quiet part of a stadium, if there is such a thing, but you know what I mean, where there's not so many people standing around. Get yourself a nice bit of area around you and enjoy your Speedway. Thanks to Dave Rowe for joining us, and you've got your own busy schedule as well this week. Got a few more meetings on the cards, haven't you?
I'll try and do a few. I shall be at, as you mentioned, I'll be at Birmingham Wednesday. So if you want to find a nice quiet space away from a speaker, then do that. Then I'll be at Peterborough Kings Lynn Thursday, and nice double header on Saturday, because it's the first day of the football season, but I've been allocated a game at Stoke City on Saturday, which should give me time to get back for the big Leicester-Edinburgh match in the evening. So nice sporting double on Saturday.
Blimey, see, he's everywhere now. The football scene's thrown into the mix as well. I tell you, good stuff. Right, well, thanks a lot, Dave, and do take care if you're heading out and about, wherever you are on your travels. Drive safely, and don't forget to join us next week for another episode of No Brakes, No Fear, for all the latest of all of that happens over the next 7 days. Fingers crossed, the weather will be fine. That's what we're hoping for. No Brakes, No Fear is a Nigel Pearson Media Limited production for British Speedway. See you next week.
No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Sports Social Podcast Network.